Hello and welcome to Supercharge, where we share practical tips on how to supercharge your career. Today, let's talk about interviews. You got a call for an interview and you're super excited but totally freaking out because you don't know what to do and you don't know where to start. Don't worry, we've got your back. Going to that company for a first interview is a lot like going on a first date. Think about it. You go in, you dress your best, try to impress the other person, learn about the other person, go back and wish they will call you back for a second date? Yeah. Today, let's look at things a little bit in reverse. Let's look at what not to do in an interview, or how to lose an interview in 10 ways, and how to get it right. Now, the first way to bomb the interview is to skip on the homework completely, or a fancy word for homework, research. Now imagine there's another candidate out there exactly like you in terms of skills, education, work experience, but he or she has done a top job in terms of interview preparation. I'm going to prefer that candidate over you, obviously. Why? That person looks much more motivated for the job, and that could be your dream job. Okay, homework is important, you get it. Let's see how you can do a top job. Start with the company, go through their website, take a nice long look and see what industry they're in, what do they produce in terms of goods or services, any competitor information out there. Next, look at the position, the details of the job description, what are they looking for, and how can you be an answer to their prayers? Literally, 3 bullet points, 1, 2, 3. And thirdly, the interviewer. Very few people do this, but Google your interviewer. You might get some interesting talking points there. Now, when it comes to punctuality, that's point number 2. Everyone knows the importance of being on time, right? Wrong. It's the early bird that catches the worm. What do you need to make sure? When you're leaving for the interview, imagine everything going wrong. Transportation delays, traffic, crazy. So if you're called at 3 o'clock, for example, just show up at 2:40. Always 20 minutes early. That gives you enough time to ask for a glass of water, go to the restroom if you need it, and you're all calm and set. Now, points number 3, 4, and 5 deal with first impressions.
Did you know there was a recent study by Monster.com that the interviewer has already decided what they think of you within the first 30 seconds? That is scary! So we can safely agree that first impressions do matter a lot. Let's break this down into 3. How you dress, how you smell, and how you move. How you dress? Lots of common sense. What you can do is keep in mind that dressing in layers can be helpful, depending on how cold or hot it is that you feel, and also the level of formality. You could dress it up with a tie or with a scarf or not. Just show up with iron clothes, but don't forget, you're never fully dressed without a smile. Now this next point is so stinky, I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. What do the following have in common? Onion, garlic, coffee, and cigarettes. Answer: you don't want to be stuck in a room with someone who's just consumed even one of them. Olfactory memory. Ooh, what is that? That could be the reason that we recruiters sometimes call candidates Garlic Gary or Cigarette Cindy. Ooh, that's awful. If you worry about this, stop. Say hello to your new best friends, mints and gum. And nothing wrong with carrying a little deodorant in your pocket or your bag. This next point on body language is actually a video in itself, but today let's focus on 3 things. Eye contact, how you shake hands, and your posture. Now, I've sometimes come across great candidates who have a hard time looking at me in the eye, and that gives me the impression that I can't trust them somehow. So avoid doing that if you can. Secondly, a firm handshake of course is important, but a quick reminder to all the men out there, when you're shaking hands with a woman, make sure it's firm as well. We appreciate it. Not a soft, limpy handshake. However, keep in mind, firm but not too firm. We don't want to crack any bones here. The last bit on body language is your posture. That's how you sit, how you stand. Now remember what you learned in school. Back straight, tummy inside. Otherwise, you look low on energy and low on confidence. Now, points number 6, 7, and 8 deal with your values as a human being. Let's start with number 6, being rude or inappropriate. What do I mean by that? Let me give you examples to make it a bit more clear. Basic manners, apologizing if you're late. Hey, it could happen, you're human. Yes, please. No, thank you. Appearing uninterested. texting while speaking, interrupting the interviewer, appearing too familiar, flirting with the interviewer, and then my favorite one, being rude to the receptionist. The receptionist is the gatekeeper to the organization. So if you're rude to him or her, HR or the interviewer is going to find out. And then what are your chances? Bye-bye! Number 7 deals with negativity. Now, certain questions during the interview maybe can upset you. For example, maybe you were laid off in your previous organization, or you worked with a very challenging boss, or your team was full of slackers and you always had to do everything yourself. I get it. But if you're going to be negative during the interview, I'm going to get the impression that you're always negative, and nobody wants that sort of energy around at the office. So what can you do? Focus on everything that went well and focus on everything that was positive. Now, point number 8 deals with your sense of ethics, right and wrong. Now here, you have to refrain from sharing any confidential information whatsoever, sales figures, pricing information, competitor information, anything that gives the interviewer the impression that you cannot be trusted. You might think this might help your chances because you're getting friendly with the interviewer, and actually he or she is probably never going to want to see you again. Number 9 relates to the questions. Now, imagine at the end of the meeting, the interviewer asks, "Would you have any questions for me?" And you say, "No, all good, thank you." Wasted opportunity, don't let it go. And yes, there is something called a stupid question. If you ask something that literally can be answered in a 5-second Google search, you're not helping your chances. How do you ask a good question though? A Harvard professor called Amy Edmondson has the following tips. A good question should be both broadening the topic as well as going deeper. So let's take an example. Broadening the topic. Who do you think are the key internal stakeholders of this position? Maybe the answer is the chief financial officer. Then go deeper. Aha. What do you think are the key challenges today of the finance department? You see what I did there? Broad and deep in one clean sweep. Thank you, Amy. Lastly, follow up. A quick email to the interviewer is all it takes. However, less than 10% of all candidates do it. It's a nice personal touch, so no harm doing it. There we go, 10 tips. But if you know me, there's always a bonus tip lurking around somewhere. So this one is related to show and tell. Like in school, you had to bring something and show people how it works. Less than 1% of candidates do this. But if you can, bring something to the interview, something physical that you can show the interviewer that you've done. It could be a website that you created, a design, a recent sales deal that you closed which is visible and you can see it on the news and the internet. It could be an article that you wrote, with anything that you think is relevant to this position and is going to help your chances. Go ahead. Like I said, less than 1% of people do it, and it sets you apart from the crowd. Here we are at the end. So much information. Let's have a quick recap, shall we? Now, when we show up at interviews, we make sure we prepare, we make sure we're on time, look sharp, have no smelly aura around us, we mind our body language, always be polite and courteous. Number 7, be a positive, glass half full kind of person. Number 8, a person of integrity. That's what you are. Number 9, ask lots of good questions. And finally, follow up. And of course, the bonus tip, if you've got something that you can bring with you to the interview, go right ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you saw, click on like and subscribe, share this with your friends, put in a comment, would love to hear from you. Have a great day. Bye.